everybody, and welcome to the next Ask Chris Tuesday. I think we are finally on number 7, so I'm so happy that I've been able to keep it up this long and keep doing it, and you guys have kept sending me questions. Sewing is such a big topic, and fashion is such a big topic, so there will be questions for as long as from now to the end of time, as long as we can keep it going. So anyway, keep sending me questions. If you have a question after you watch the end of this, you want to ask me something that I didn't cover, or something that I did cover and maybe I didn't explain it well enough, then please leave a question at the bottom in the comment section. Please like it, favorite it, and please subscribe for more Ask Chris Tuesdays. Sorry this one is a little late. I had a lot of errands and different things to run, and then I was really tired when I got back and I took a nap. So anywho, okay, so question number 1 is from You're My Mummy, or You're My Mom 1. And they say, how do you thread this from it coming undone? I can't figure this out. Please help, and forget the diagram. LOL. So she left the question, or he or whoever left the question on my Serger video about about the Serger. So I think they were saying, how do you thread this to keep it from coming undone? And I think they were saying forget the diagram here. Okay. The best thing that I could tell you to do would be to go and watch my video on how to thread the Serger, because this question was actually left on the video that says how to thread, or I'm sorry, how to change the thread color. So there's a separate video that says how to do how to change the threads, and I'll put a link either down here or there will be a link in the description. Oh yeah, y'all, if y'all aren't used to looking in the descriptions of my videos, I try to leave a lot of information in the descriptions, and I try to leave links from all the stuff that I talk about in my videos for that video in the bottom, and then I also leave all the questions that I went over. So that way I know my videos get a little long, and because I try to answer the questions as fully as possible, and so I try to leave all the questions down at the bottom. That way, once you click on the video, you can go to the bottom, read, and see if there's anything in there that you want to listen to. If not, you can go do something else. I don't want to waste your time or whatever, so that way that's done. Okay, next question. Thanks for your help about the thread. And this is from Ginger0174. Thanks for your help about the thread. My Serger worked fine. I tried to use it today and it wouldn't work. I threaded it again, nothing. The part where the thread goes into the hole on the arm under the needles hits the 2 needles. Not sure why or what I'm doing wrong. Can you help? Okay, so Ginger0174, I think, and this video, or this question was also left on the change threads video. I think they're talking about, turn on the light here. Okay, so they said the part where the thread goes through the hole under the, what does it say? The part where the thread goes into the hole on the arm under the needles. So this is the arm under the needles. I'm guessing those are the main needles she's talking about. This is the arm under the needles, and this is the part, I'm guessing, where the thread goes under the things, the longer part that's shifting back and forth. That's the part I think she's talking about. She said that the needle is hitting that part. If you look here, if you shift it all the way down, I hope you guys can see this. If you shift it all the way down, the needle should not be hitting it. Nothing should be hitting anything else. Everything should be moving nice and smooth all around each other. The threads should be tangling in a way that, you know, weaves the threads together so it makes a nice serger stitch. But nothing should be hitting anything else. So if it's hitting something, I do suggest getting on Google and doing some kind of search for a mechanic that works on sergers and sewing machines, because you will need to send that to someone or drive it to someone. Hopefully your city has like a sewing district or whatever, or fashion district, or place where they do, you know, fashion stuff, like for fashion business stuff. In a place that sells industrial machines and stuff like that. You should be able to go and take this there, because like I said, nothing's supposed to be hitting anything else. You shouldn't hear any scraping or anything. It should just be a nice fluid motion. Okay, so please get that worked on, because that sounds dangerous. Okay, next question, number 3, is from Chanks29. They're a frequent question person, so thanks for asking more questions. They say, I noticed that when doing a pattern, there are triangles cut out of them for exact fit to shape? Question mark. How do you know how much to cut? Is this a guesstimate? So, to answer your question, what did I do? I have some little bitty patterns here in my trash can that I just threw away because I completely forgot I was going to be answering this question. Anywho, if you see here, this is a little mini pattern that I got out of one of my pattern books. You see here, there are triangles here, and there are triangles here. These triangles are cut differently than those. But really, in the grand scheme of things, you don't cut them out. You just sew them. And basically, you sew them by, when you take your pattern, you usually have dots in certain places. And maybe in the future, I'll get to explain this a lot more. I have a video on darts. I have a little mini series on darts, and I will be adding more videos to that in the future, but for now I think there's maybe like 2 or 3 videos on darts, and I'll put a link in the description too. So for this, you'll sew the dart like this. You'll fold it on the center, and then when the dart is folded in half, you'll take your sewing machine, and you can sew these darts. These are called fish-eye darts. The long ones that looks like 2 triangles or a diamond, these are called fish-eye. So you're going to fold it on the center, and then you're going to sew from one end all the way to the waist, and then to the other end, and make sure you blend it out where the point disappears. Or you can start at the middle and sew to one end, and then you can start at the middle again and sew to the other end. So you can sew those in 2 different ways. For this one, this kind of here, you will fold this in half, so wherever the half is for that, fold it in half, and then you would go about sewing it the same way as before. So you're going to go, and you can sew from the top down. Some people like to sew from the point the other way. I don't know. It just depends on what you like to do, or how you like sewing, how you're comfortable with it. I even also, when I'm sewing my garments, if I want to get it really, really, really perfect, because it's hard to sew in a straight line, going at an edge. So I'll take my ruler, and once I know where the lines are supposed to be, I just take a pencil and trace the line, like really lightly, but where I can see it. That way, I can just sew right on top of the line. Okay, sew right on top of the line. Okay, next question. But first, yes, they are for fit, because your patterns are made in such a way. If it's a woven garment, meaning that the fabric doesn't stretch, or if it's a woven fabric, meaning that the fabric doesn't stretch, then it's not gonna stretch. You're gonna need some kind of something in order to make the garment fit you. And so, just how it is, it doesn't have any real shape to it. And then this is a good example here. This is a big version, and if you watch the sheath alteration video that I just did, this is a big, humongous version of this. Okay. And the bust darts are sewn up. This is what those triangles look like when they're sewn up. Okay, hopefully you can see that really good. And then these is what the little dots look like for the fisheye part where it has not been sewn up. So hopefully you can see the little dots here and there. And then you just pull it in the center. Okay, I can't really grab it, but you can watch the video and see it. You pull it in the center, and then you're going to sew up the sides to both points. And it helps pull the garment in to fit it. One thing that you learn when you first start sewing is that you cannot take a woven garment or a woven fabric and try to make the garment fit just by changing the outside edge. You can't do that, because you're going to get very, very frustrated, and it's not going to give you the fit that you want. And also, there are certain ways to do it, but like I said, it's a little more advanced. And the easiest way is just to make darts in the garment and to pull the garment in the middle of the garment, rather than trying to take it in on the sides and trying to make the garment stretch to you. You can do that with stretch fabric. You can alter the outside edge and it'll fit. With woven fabric, you cannot. So anyway, okay. Then Miss or Mr. or this person, it says CQUIYAH 1975 says, can you go slower on your next tutorial, please? Okay, my tutorials for the time-lapse thing, they're meant to be quicker, just because I want to get a lot of stuff in. Those tutorials are, if you did them at the normal speed, they would be between an hour and 3 hours long, because that's how much information there is. And that's not even with all of the information. I still go back through and edit pieces out where I'm not doing anything much, or things that maybe, you know, it's simple, like sewing a seam. I try not to sew too much, or try not to show too much of me just sewing a seam. No one wants to just see you sew a seam. You should probably be sewing your own seam while I'm sewing a seam. Why am I showing you it? So I try to take out all the parts that are completely unnecessary to show you and don't really help you learn what's going on. And then also, the tutorials are a little more on the intermediate and advanced side, especially once you get into all those different seams and all the different ways to cut the garment. It goes out of the beginner realm and starts going into the advanced and the intermediate and stuff like that. And it's really to inspire you, to kind of entertain you, and to give you ideas of how things come about or how things go on. It's not so much to be teaching, unless you're on that level where you can just kind of look at it and be like, oh, I didn't know I should have done that. Okay, never mind, I should do this. And then also, it's kind of to open you up to a new technique for making patterns using your dress form and a torso pattern, or you know, whatever, something that's sewn up on the form, and then drawing lines on it, cutting it apart, and then making this completely new garment that doesn't even look like the old one. And it's something that I've been wanting to try for a while, and now I get to try it, you know, every other Friday in front of you guys. So that was interesting. Let's see, things like the cardigan, that was a lot more simple. And I actually watched over the video, because that's the one that this person left the comment on. And there were certain parts on the video where I didn't even give the text that was on the screen enough time for a person to read it. So that could have been what you were talking about. And I did respond to your comment on the video, or in the comment section. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, because I did notice that certain parts of it moved too fast. So I will try to slow that part of it down, so that way you can at least read everything that's going on, and at least give it maybe like 7 seconds or something. That way you can get a good reading. You can kind of look back and forth, and for those parts of the video I will kind of slow it down. That way the video is going at the same time the text is going. It's moving a little slower, and then we speed back up when there's no text. So I don't know, there's ways to work around it, and I will do some things slower, like how we did the sheath alteration. That was something that I wanted to explain, so I did go slower on that. Okay, so what else? Question number 5. Do you have any old videos to post about cutting out patterns? I'm sure that will help me. I also need to learn more about grains of fabric, etc. So any vids you have and can refer me to would be appreciated. And that's from Blue Pisces 1, who is another frequent question person, so thank you very much. And I think also the CQUIJHJAH 1975 person is also a frequent question. Thank y'all for asking questions repeatedly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so Blue Pisces, okay. I do have some old videos that I would like to post, that were when I was trying to do a website not too long ago, and you'll still see the information for the website on some of my older videos. I haven't gone back and changed the things for them. But anyway, I do have a lot of old tutorials that I was making for that time, and so I will take those tutorials and put them on YouTube. It's just been taking me a while, but I will do that. I was uploading some, like the dart manipulation stuff that I was doing. That was a part of the old site. And there's some other stuff. There's even like a basic bodice and basic skirt creation tutorial, and even a basic sleeve creation tutorial that I had for the site that I haven't uploaded at all yet. So there's a lot to do. So there will be a lot of videos. There will always be some kind of video that I can upload. So I think at the turn of the year, in January, I will probably start uploading a lot of my old videos and taking a break from the tutorial for a minute, the time-lapse tutorial, and still do the Axe Tuesday. But just get those videos uploaded, and then we can start back with the time-lapse tutorials and just come back with a bang or something. Okay, next question. So the information I get from this channel is teaching me a lot. I'm a beginner and have been doing pretty good. I'm following the steps you have shown. And that's from Super Beautiful Love. That's such a pretty name. Thank you for watching and learning. And you're welcome. Hopefully I can continue to teach you guys. I'm trying to also create a brand and to be bigger and to create a nice image for you guys. I'm so glad like the thumbnail thing came unlocked, because those horrible thumbnails were killing me. I was like, ugh, that's so ugly. And it always picked the ugliest pictures. And I was like, ugh, and ugh, it was just horrible. So, anyway, yeah. Next question. Number 7, pattern making using the dress form. How does that work? What is required? Tools and knowledge. Is this the way it's taught in schools, or did you also learn to do flat patterns? Which is easier? I'm not sure if you watch Project Runway, but I often see the designers using a blue tape thingy, which they use to create the lines of the pattern or garment. What's that all about? Do you have to go to a class to learn the pattern making on a dress form, or can it be self-taught? And that's from Things I Love 18. That's also a frequent question person. Thank you for asking another question. So, I did learn it in school, some of it. I knew it before I went to school. They kind of reinforced it when I went to school, but I actually was fortunate enough, I guess, I like to look at the good in things. I was actually fortunate enough to not be able to make it to fashion design school when I should have, or you know, when I wanted to. And so I had, like, my roommate, he sews a lot, and he taught me the majority of all the big stuff that I know how to do now. And he gave me the other, you know, half of my knowledge. What he did, he gave me a pattern book while I was at home, and so I just practiced with the pattern book, and then I would call and ask him questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do blah, 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 blah. And every time I was curious about something, I would go and try it, or I would just call and ask him a question. Okay, I'm trying to do this, or I would like to do this, and I just started off real simple. And then when I first started, my big thing was t-shirts and what else? And skirts and stuff like that. And then I wanted to sew pants eventually, and suit jackets and stuff like that. But my main thing when I first started was t-shirts, and I liked taking like women's t-shirts and dressing them up and making pretty things, and you know, learning how to do the different sleeves they do with women's t-shirts and stuff like that. So I was kind of obsessed with t-shirts for a while, and I still kind of am. There's a side of me that still loves t-shirts, and I may even do some time-lapse tutorials on t-shirts, and that'll be nice. Because knit fabrics are real easy. Like you saw with the cardigan, that was so simple. Because you don't have to do as much hardcore fitting for it to, you know, look right. So a lot of your fitting is just going to come with how small the pattern is. So, but anyway, okay, so let me answer your question. Pattern making using a dress form, how does that work? Okay, basically, to make a pattern with a dress form, it's called draping. If you're doing flat pattern making, it's called flat pattern making, like you said, because it's flat and it's on a table or some other surface where you're actually looking at the 2D version of clothing, and it's the pattern, of course, and then you're altering it, and then you sew it up. You see how it fits with the muslins and different things. So 3D pattern making is draping, and then the version that I show you guys on the time-lapse tutorials, basically it just uses a torso pattern that I made a long time ago through the flat pattern and the draping. It's kind of like a combination, which hopefully in the future I'll be able to show you guys. But anyway, I take the torso and I put it on the dress form, and I just draw the lines on it. And it's so much simpler than draping, because to me, I don't like draping because you have to cut the fabric and then you have to pin it to the dress form and make sure it's this way and that way, and I don't like doing that. I would rather start with the torso pattern, put it on there, draw the shapes. If I need to add more fabric to it, like you saw me do in the David Tlale and Dior tutorial, if I need to add another piece of fabric to it, it's always easy to layer fabric on top of something that's already there. If I'm just working straight with the dress form, I can't do anything with the fabric that's on the dress form. With the, you know, the covering that's on the dress form, I can only, you know, I can put the blue lines on it, and the blue lines that you were asking about, it's a you can call it dressmaker's tape, you can call it a style line tape. It's basically a tape that you put on the form to draw out the style lines. It's the same thing that you see me doing on the torso, but the easier part about it, which I love, is that if I start with a piece of fabric, it's basically like being able to draw on the dress form and then cut the dress form apart without messing up the dress form. So that's why I like taking the torso, sewing it up, putting it on the dress form, making the torso fit like I want it in certain places just by pinching it out, making the darts a little tighter or whatever, and then I take it off the dress form and I cut it apart, and magically a pattern appears, you know, rather than me taking my time and doing these style lines really, really nice and then trying to trace the style lines, and it's really tedious and it's a lot of extra work that, to me, I feel like I shouldn't have to do. So when I learned that technique, the taking the torso and drawing on it, I was like, that is so ingenious. Oh my god. And I got that from one of my pattern books that I bought off of Amazon. It's a pattern magic book. It's amazing. So, anywho, okay, so let's see. Like I said, I did go to school for and I told you that it's easier once you get if you have a dress form, once you get a torso pattern done, you are in the business. Once you have your basic patterns, like your torso, your basic block, bodice, skirt, torso, and the sleeve, and even pants patterns too, because you can do pants pattern. But my dress form just doesn't have legs. Maybe in the future I'll be able to buy one, but didn't have legs, so I don't really focus on pant patterns. But yes, okay. Anyway, moving on. I hope that answered it well enough. If I didn't, just ask me a question and I'll try to answer it some more in the comment section. And next question, number 8. I don't have specific questions. You did great on zippers, always a mystery to me. I'm starting to make my own patterns and love it, but sleeves, I have a horrible time getting them good enough. I also get frustrated with knits and getting them right in the collars and sleeves look. I'm confused. And then they always get so fumbled up, and yes, I have loved my Serger. I saved it right after my kids and my dog in a fire. And my darling husband can get out on his own and better have the computers. And then pants tips too. Okay. And this is from Over 40 Princess. So hello, Over 40. You've been leaving a lot of comments, so thanks for all the comments and stuff. And thanks for asking the questions. I think you've asked questions before in the past, and I think I may have answered one or two. Anyway, okay. So let's see. Pants tips. Pants are kind of like sleeves in the way that there's two different ways to sew them. Like with sleeves, you can, for instance, I'm just going to use this as an example. Is there another piece in here? Let's see. Yes. Okay. With sleeves, we're going to have to imagine the sleeve. Or, okay, y'all. Anyway, so there's two different ways to sew a sleeve. And this just kind of gives you background information on how to sew pants. I'll explain in just a minute. So, okay. The first way you can sew a sleeve, which is actually the easiest way, is to sew the shoulders of the garment first together and leave the sides open, which is this part. Leave that open, and then sew the sleeve into the armhole, and that's this part, and then to sew these two sides together, and then the sleeve is sewn. That way you don't have to set the sleeve into the garment. You can just sew the sleeve all together as one part, as if it's part of the whole garment. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You sew the shoulders together, and then you're gonna sew the sleeve into the armhole, and then you can just sew the side up, like you can fold it down, and you'll be able to sew the side up. Okay, the other way is basically by, I can flip this and show it to you. Okay, so hopefully this part makes sense too. The other way is to sew the shoulder up and then to sew the side up, and then you just have a big hole where the arm goes, or where the sleeve goes, and then you can sew the side of the sleeve together as one separate thing, and then you can just sew what's left with the armhole and the sleeve opening. You can sew those together. That way is a little more hard because the sleeve has to be in there perfectly. This way is the way that I would suggest beginners sew sleeves. Okay, y'all. So now with pants, the same thing kind of applies. And before I mention, well, I'll mention how to sew the pants first, and then I'll come back and talk about the differences and the similarities. Okay, So hopefully you can see this good. With dress pants, or not with dress pants, just with pants in general, there's two different ways to sew them together. So you can put the back and the front together and sew them together on the side seam and on the inseam. And then the last seam that you can sew would be the what do you call it? Crotch seam. Okay? Or you can sew the crotch seam of the fronts together and the crotch seam of the backs together, and then all you would have is your inseam and your outer seam. So that would be the seam in between your legs and the seam going up the sides. Regardless of which way you sew them, pants are actually pretty easy to sew either way. The only problem comes into when you do your zipper. But personally, I think it is a little easier to sew, well, I don't know. I haven't sewn any pants in a while, so I've kind of forgotten whether it's easier to put a zipper in this way or that way. But either way, I think it's really pretty much the same either way. The only problem would come in, yeah, I think the dress pants way might be a little more difficult because you have the seam that you have to sew and you have to put a zipper on the same seam that you're currently sewing. With the jeans method, or this other method, you already sew that seam up ahead of time, and it's not one long continuous seam, it's a front seam and it's a back seam. So I think the zipper method would be easier when they're separated. I don't know, maybe not. If you have an opinion on it, let me know in the comment section, but I don't know. Anywho, the differences in the sewing the pants, one is for functionality and endurance and durability, which would be this method, which I have labeled jeans because that's how they sew your jeans. And then the other one is more for appearance and the way that it fits. And that is for dress pants. That is the dress pants method. So the dress pants method would be sewing the crotch seam last. The jeans method would be sewing the under the leg and the outer seams last. And I actually bought some pants so I could show you, just in case you don't have any pants near you, that what I'm saying is true. Now, it could be that, there are some dress pants out there somewhere that aren't sewn like this, but the majority of the dress pants I've worn are all sewn like this, and hopefully you can see this very, very well. I think I'm going to put it on the table and pick up the camera and do it that way. That would be easier. Now you can usually tell how things are sewn, or the order they're sewn, by the way seams overlap. And really, by going in your closet and analyzing your different garments, you'll be able to tell. And even once you flip it inside out and you see which seams are sewn in what order and which ones are overlapping which ones, you can tell the ones that overlap were sewn afterwards. So if you look at these pants, this is the crotch seam that we're looking at, and this is where you will find out whether your pants are sewn in the jeans method or the dress pants method. And since these are dress pants, it should be sewn in the dress pants method. So here's the zipper up there. Then we come down here and we say, oh, okay, you can tell this seam was sewn last because these two seams look like they've been interrupted, like they were joined together. You could tell if this was sewn all in one big swoop, if it were sewn last. Just like this one, you can tell. Okay, so that's the dress pants method. And then let me pull the jeans over here. Okay, and here are your jeans. If you come down here, then you can tell this seam was sewn last. Okay, so if you put them next to each other, or if you've even ever wondered or have ever looked at your jeans before and you'd be like, why are these sewn like this, or yada yada whatever, now you'll see the two differences. Your dress pants are not made to be for you to have your legs all gapped open, walking around crazy and doing all these different kind of things in dress pants. Your dress pants are really made so you can look cute, and so they fall nice and pretty and this and this and that. You want them to fall long down the length of your leg and to fit really nicely from your crotch all the way down. And so that is why this seam is sewn last, okay? Because you want it to just fall pretty from that seam all the way down. And it's not for durability, so you'll notice also, well, I don't know if you ever notice, sometimes your dress pants will start to come loose here, and you'll have to resew them. So that's one thing. And then here are your jeans. You can see the complete difference. This seam is sewn afterwards. And that is because your jeans are made so that you can, you know, have this big womp womp womp, you know, and be able to have your legs all gapped open if you're like lifting stuff, or if you're working in construction work, or whatever you do. Jeans are made to be more durable. Not only is the fabric more durable than dress pants fabric, but it is also made to be rough in. And then they also give you these nice little rough patches, so you know you're supposed to be rough. So, okay, so Mr. Andre Sampenedo, I think I figured out how to say it, says, LOL, sorry about that. You, with the last video, you were talking about doing some Halloween outfits. You should totally do a Lady Gaga dress. And I actually really love looking at the stuff Lady Gaga wears. So that would be something very interesting to do, because I think it is the October 25th show that I didn't plan anything for, and I was kind of wondering. So I think I'm going to do Lady Gaga outfit. So thank you, Mr. Andre Sampenedo. That will be something I will be looking into. Okay, so question number 10, and then I'm almost finished. I got one more question. Freya number 1 said, I posted the link a few days ago on the last video, and then she gave me the link, and I'm going to put it in the description of this video. Thank you, Freya 1, for putting that up. And what she did basically was, we were talking about how to put patterns on the internet, because, you know, patterns are real big and crazy. The bigger the pattern gets, I think it's going to be really difficult. But we were talking about finding like a bigger scanner person and all this other stuff. So she was saying, you know, if you had to make it in smaller pieces, you could cut it up and scan it onto the computer, and then you could take this program called Inkscape, and you could trace over the lines and make them darker. And thank you for that. I think, because I did watch the tutorial, and it was very complicated looking. It's like, for anybody who has learned Photoshop the first time, or whenever you first learn Photoshop, it's like that. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. So, no offense, but thank you for putting up the video. So hopefully you'll continue to do more videos and join me in the YouTube community. But, if not, you know, whatever. But, thank you for doing the video. You did a good job. It was kind of complicated looking, or very complicated looking, especially when you did the thing with the square and you were putting the pieces around the square, and I was like, what's the square for? I didn't even really notice the square was a part of something. I thought it was just like, I don't know why the square was there. And then later on I noticed that you were using the square to like place the pieces correctly, but I didn't even understand. I was confused the whole time. So anyway, if I did need to retrace over the pieces or anything, I would probably go into like Photoshop or something like that, because I have learned how to use Photoshop over the years. But even for anybody, like I said, any time you're first using Photoshop, it's horrible. So I don't want to have that learning curve again. It's scary. So anyway, thank you again for posting that for everyone to enjoy. So if you're thinking about doing that, I will put the link in the description so you can go look at the video yourself and give her a nice thumbs up and everything. Next question, last question, number 11 is from Fugue83, F-U-G-U-E 83, and it says, thanks so much for the very helpful tutorials. Since you use the Brother LX3125 machine, maybe you can answer my question. I like to do some freehand embroidery using this machine. Unfortunately, all of my attempts look awful. It skips stitches, ignores all tension settings, and chews up thread. So far, zigzag stitches give the least ugly results. If you've done any embroidery with this machine, is there any advice, instruction, or tip you could offer, please? Thanks, or thank you in advance. Okay. So, oh, excuse me. That machine, supposedly when I got it, it's supposed to be able to do some darning. And I think darning, no, I think it's darning. Darning is supposed to be when you do freehand stitches. And I think they give you one of the pieces to use when you are doing a buttonhole foot. When you're using the button, no, when you're using the button foot, not the buttonhole foot. The button foot is the one that looks like the little claw like this, and it holds your button down, and then you can sew in between, and then there's a plate that goes underneath that, and it holds the, what does it do? It keeps the feed dogs from grabbing the fabric. So the plate, or the little plate, goes on top of the feed dogs that are here. The plate goes here, and it has a little hole so the needle can go through. And then your fabric goes on top of here, and then your button, and then the foot, you know, that whole thing. And then it sews the button on. So the little plate can be used for darning also. I never learned how to do any darning. I'm not big on like the crafting type stuff, or quilting, or embroidery really, unless it's like hand beading or something like that. That I've kind of learned how to do a little bit of. And in the future I would love how to do like the tambour hooks. But anyway, so I'm sorry I can't help you much with the embroidery tips and stuff like that, especially with freehand, like if you're trying to do it yourself. But I can give you this site, and let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I know that you didn't say that you want to do hand embroidery, that you wanted to do embroidery with the machine, but I did want to at least show you this site. It's amazing. So I'm going to bring this over here and pull this page up, and hopefully you guys can see this. Really, really amazing site. It's called Needle and Thread, and it's spelled needleandthread.com/videos. And this site is effing amazing because she has, well, this is hand embroidery, okay? She has all these little mini videos to show you how to do all these different amazing stitches. I'm going to try to get really close so you can get all the awesomeness. This site is ridiculous. Look at this. This is amazing. This herringbone stitch, like, she inspired me to go and to do my own herringbone stitch video on YouTube. So if you go back in my videos, I have a herringbone stitch tutorial that I learned how to do after I watched her videos. She's effing amazing. Oh my gosh. And then she showed, I mean, she just has all this great stuff. And it's amazing what you can do with hand stitches. And I forgot how I ended up getting into this. I think I was looking for accordion stitches and all this other stuff, and then I ended up on her site, and I was just like, wow, it's like a kid in a candy store because all the pictures are so pretty, and she did a really, really good, great, amazing job. And the videos just goes on and on and on for days. It's like Alice in Wonderland. Oh my gosh, it's just, and all the different things she made, you know, it's just amazing. So look at that. It's like the ombre stitching or whatever, because the long short stitch shading, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Guys, go here and see. I'm going to put a thing. Look, she made a rose. That's amazing. So I'm going to put the thing in a, what's it called? The link in the description so you guys can see that. For anyone who wants to do any type of hand embroidery, it's amazing. So that is it for this Ask Tuesday. So we're on number 7, I think. So anyway, if you have questions, comments, or anything, please leave them in the description box, not the description box, in the comment section at the bottom. I will put any links that I talked about today in the description box, so you can get to them. I think we talked about 3 different things today. This site, the needle and thread, and Freya's video on how to use Inkscape for patterns. And also, we talked about one more thing. What did we talk about? We talked about something else. I will think of it, I promise. So anyway, that's it. Thank you so very much for watching. I know my videos get really long, but I think some of you like all the information. It's like sitting in a big circle with our legs crossed, having powwow sewing time. So I don't know. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. Please come back again and watch the next one. Please subscribe so you can see my next video and you won't miss it. So talk to you later. Bye.